So I will call the Weathersfield School Board meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. On March 8th. And I will ask the board for nominations for chairperson of the board. I can't hear anybody in that cafeteria. I'm not sure what that means.
I'd like to nominate Anne-Marie Redmond.
Okay, I hear a nomination for Anne-Marie Redmond. Would somebody like to second that?
Kevin would like to second.
Mark, was that you? Okay. So we have a motion to nominate Anne-Marie Redmond, and we have a second. Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote for chairperson Anne-Marie's candidacy. Jamie, we might as well start with you. Jamie Turner?
Aye.
And Mark Youngling? Jackie?
Aye.
And who's next to you, Ann? I've got to learn our new board member's name, don't I?
Nicole and Honeycomb to us?
Nicole? Nicole, did you vote aye?
Aye.
Okay, and Anne Marie?
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous, and Anne Marie is our chair for another year. And Anne Marie, I will turn it over to you, and you can move on with the nominations for the other positions. Does everybody have a copy of the agenda?
Yes.
Because I'll put it in the chat just in case we have people who are online who don't have it. I'll share it in the chat. Go ahead, Ann. It's all yours.
Did Jackie do the nomination for Anne? Or was
Yeah,
that
and Mark
Nicole?
and Mark's second.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll take nominations for vice chair. Mark England. It was seconded by Jackie. And are there any other nominations? Mark, do you accept the nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Okay. I will do a roll call then. Jamie?
Aye.
Jackie? Aye. Mark?
I accept it.
Anne? Aye. Nicole? Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Mark, the vice chair. I will take nominations for clerk of the board. I'd like to nominate Nicole, but David, can you explain what clerk of the board is exactly?
Yeah, it's not too difficult a job. What the clerk does mainly is, in case we don't have somebody to take minutes, and Becky is usually very faithful about being at these meetings, but if she were to show up, then you'd be the first one, that we would look to take minutes. And occasionally, if we have to write a letter to somebody about a congratulatory letter or a retirement letter, sometimes the clerk will sign that on behalf of the board. But that's about it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Any other nominations? Okay, do a roll call. Jamie?
Aye.
Jackie? Aye. Mark?
Aye.
Anne? Aye. Nicole? Okay. And then we have to nominate and elect 3 representatives to the Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union Board. I believe, David, I have to be on it, correct?
Correct.
so I'll be one on it. And then last year we had Mark and Jamie on it. Would you both be interested in serving again?
I do want to serve.
Jamie, would you be interested in serving again?
I can, but I'm also open that if someone else wants to be on it, that they also can.
Would anyone else be interested in being on it? It's an additional meeting or 2 or 3.
Sometimes it's more, yeah.
Leave us one then, but sometimes more. Is this all? There's people online. But just for it just has to be one of 3 of the 5 of us goes. There actually is, they've been online for quite a while. Teams and stuff like that.
Represent this board at the SU.
Yeah. Anyone else? Still not? Been there, done that. Okay, well, so I guess, do we do them all at once or just one at a time, David?
No, you can do them all at once, as long as there's nobody running against anybody.
Okay. So I guess, yeah, so we need an actual, I guess, official nomination.
Yeah, somebody would have to make a motion to nominate those 3 people.
I think Jackie has some questions. I don't know if you have a question or comment.
Did Jackie make that motion?
Question is to nominate the 3 of you.
Yeah.
And what if I thought that today I was to put out getting on the board to keep consistency in the board for another year?
Make that motion.
That would be 3 separate nominations.
I think he said we do it as one nomination. Or, well, I guess we could do me and then Mark and then we've got last one, third. Okay. Jamie, would you be willing to serve? You would be, right? Good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to. I just, if someone else wanted, is like dying to be on it, I was willing to give up my spot, but no, I'm happy to be on it.
Well, I guess I kind of agree with Jackie. Maybe we'll let Nicole do a round of being on this board before she gets on the SU board.
Yeah. Get some practice.
Back.
Yeah. So you're gonna make that nomination then.
I would like to nominate for the SU, for the, excuse me, let me start that over. I'd like to nominate 3 WSESU representatives for the Weathersfield School to be Anne-Marie Redmond, Mark Youngling, and Jamie Turner.
And that was Jackie. Nicole could second it if she wanted to.
Nicole seconds that. And then we'll run down the voting. Jamie,
Aye.
Jackie, Mark,
Aye.
Ann, I, Dave, I'm sorry, Nicole. Okay. That's unanimously. We need to nominate a representative to the SU bargaining council. I believe Jackie did this last year.
Correct.
I'd be willing.
Make that nomination. And nominate Jackie and Donovich to represent us at the bargaining council.
I second that nomination. Is there anyone else? Any other nominations? Anyone else interested? Start off with Jamie,
Aye.
Jackie,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Ann, I. Nicole, aye. Okay, The next is to designate a truant officer, and I believe this is always the chief of police, Daniels, correct?
Correct.
So, make a motion. Chief Daniels.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Mark is gonna make that motion, a second. Nicole will second that. We'll take a roll call. Jamie?
Aye.
Aye.
Mark? Anne, aye. Nicole? Okay, then we need to designate official newspapers. It looks like we've been using the Valley News and the Eagle Times. Does anyone have any suggestions or changes to that?
Anybody else have any other suggestions?
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll motion that we have the official newspapers as the Valley News and the Eagle Times.
I'll second that.
Mark seconds that, so that was, motion made by Jackie and seconded by Mark. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll go on a roll call. Jamie?
Aye.
Jackie?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Anne, aye. Nicole? Okay, and then we need to establish a regular time, place, and date of monthly meeting. I feel like the second Tuesday has been working pretty good for us. I was wondering if anyone might be opposed to changing the time to 6:30. We usually get done pretty quick. If we know we're gonna be having a long meeting, maybe we should on those days, but I think the regular meeting, 6:30 would be okay. Everyone? 6:30? Jamie? Okay,
6:30 works for me.
okay, so we'll do the second Tuesday at 6:30, yeah. And then as far as place here at the school and also online, I think I like the hybrid model. Does everyone else like that? I like that. Feel like we get more people, yeah. And of course, any board members, if you aren't feeling comfortable coming in, you're welcome to do a hybrid. So, I think just one person has to be here, correct? Yeah. So, I guess I'll make a motion to establish our regular meeting time and date as the second Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m. in a hybrid format, the physical location being Weathersfield School.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
I don't have any, Brian.
I don't have any. I did have spring sports as part of my report and plans for the spring production. So even though those are items for discussion, that'll be under the lead learner report.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll move on to approval of minutes. We have the February 8th minutes and then our special meeting on the 15th.
Yeah. And I put the copies in the chat in case anybody hasn't seen them.
That was just to review stuff for the presentation. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes from February? One of them. There's a change for the 8th.
What number? What number?
Right in the call to order, it just has, instead of Jamie Turner, it says Jamie Taylor.
And it's within the minute.
And then in the minutes, she's referred to as Taylor. So if you can just change Jamie Taylor to Jamie Turner, wherever it is.
Sorry, Jamie, I thought I caught that. I don't know why I kept doing that on those minutes.
That's okay.
I kept
also-
wanting to change your last name. Did I do it somewhere else too?
I also noticed that in the items for discussion, D, spring musical, that in the last sentence, Mark's last name is spelled wrong.
Okay, is that the same minutes?
Yes.
2-8, okay. I had to re-look your name up because I reinvented it. I'm like, I don't think it's Taylor.
So then with those changes to the name spelling, motion to minutes of February 8th.
I'll motion to approve the minutes of February 8th and May 15th.
Oh, yeah. 15th, okay. Yeah, that looks good. I see Jamie's name is spelled correctly on the 15th.
Yeah, we got it right that time, Jamie.
Mark's name is misspelled on the February 15th. The G and the N.
Mark's name?
Just the G and the N need to switch up in the call to order.
Okay.
So just with the corrections to Jamie and Mark's name for both, Jackie is mom's
Okay.
name.
Becky, you've got those?
Was it Jackie's name too?
Just Mark and Jamie's name.
No, Beck, you're doing really well.
Well, sometimes it comes out wrong. I need to do that thing where it corrects people's names automatically.
Yeah. Put it in your dictionary, yeah. So who made the motion, Ann?
Jackie, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jamie,
Jamie?
do a roll call. Jamie,
Aye.
Jackie, Mark,
Aye.
Ann, I, and Nicole. Nicole's gonna abstain, so that's okay. Okay, so those minutes were approved. We have public participation and announcements. Are there any members of the public that wish to say anything? Raise your hand online or here. Oh, we have someone here.
I would.
I don't recognize who you are. Can you announce who you are?
Yeah, sure. My name is Bob Morrow. The parent of a kindergartner and fourth grader here. My comments probably best fit underneath the athletic section, but do I just do that now or wait or?
Yeah, I think we can, we're talking about spring sports. Is it something related to spring sports in particular, or?
It's related to spring sports and just a general comment, about athletics in general. Yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll take a comment during the athletics discussion.
Great.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would like to.
Oh, yes,
So
ask who you are.
my name's Ryan Gay, and I have a daughter who attends the school here, 6th grade.
Ryan, what's your last name?
Gay, G-A-Y. I'm not sure how this works. I've been kind of watching, trying to learn the protocols, understand how this all operates.
If it's on the agenda, then you just wait till it comes up, but if it's not. then-
Well, it's not, but yesterday's meeting under the superintendent's report, they had a mass discussion in Windsor about COVID protocols, I guess. So I was wondering if we're gonna be getting into that, to elaborate today at this.
But that is gonna be handled at the SU level at the meeting, on March 14th. The SU, I don't think if you wanna let us know how you feel about it so that we can take that information with us to that meeting. go ahead and do that, but otherwise you could show up to the meeting on March 14th.
Yeah, no, now it's fine. As a member of the community, obviously, there's passionate people on both sides of this debate. And obviously, everyone is thankful to the board, people, the faculty that work here at the school. But as people who represent the children, I would think you would have the children's best interests. These children haven't been able to eat lunch together, sit with their friends.
I believe that's being phased in.
Right, but it's been a long time,
Yeah.
right? I think everyone's had enough. Okay? Kids need to be able to see each other and communicate like normal children, see emotion. You guys have received a memorandum from the state, and the state made it very clear they expect you guys to follow suit. We all are aware of all the chatter of this board in particular, and this supervisory union, being very reluctant to do so. And people have had enough. We want some representation. We're all aware of the recent voting, and our writing candidates did very well to challenge you guys for the people who we were aware were up to, right? So I think that's a strong message to this board of where people stand. Now, you guys polled the parents. Apparently you didn't like those numbers, so you decided to, in my opinion, overreach and poll our children, who you have oppressed and manipulated for 2 years with these masks. And I don't feel like they feel comfortable to freely and openly express themselves in this setting. I believe that was wrong. And many parents feel the same way. You got the numbers from the children. The people who are done with masking are the majority. So the people who aren't comfortable, we all respect that. That's the minority. Okay? I think it's time we go with the majority. We already played ball for 2 years now. I think we're all had enough. We would appreciate some representation. You took people who advocate for masking, talk about science. There are no studies that I'm aware of with controlled groups and real data that support masking. The CDC is very slow and reluctant to acknowledge the science because they already pushed their narrative. It's hard to fall back on that and hold credibility once you've done so. We all know the new guidance is an N95. So for all of us wearing a surgical mask or a cotton mask, we're all well aware that is doing nothing. At this point, that is a virtue signal. It's not doing anything. There's no risk. Children, also, we're never at risk from this virus. Never. Those are also facts.
You're only supposed to have 2 minutes, so you can wrap it up.
I can wrap it up, but I'm the only one speaking, so I don't think we're really tight on time, right? So I believe, going over a little bit of time, I'm representing a large constituent
Okay, I'll
of
give
this
you 1 more
township.
minute. I
Right?
think what you're saying is a lot of what's already been determined by the people on the board, and
I know science is a
discussion-
touchy subject to
discussion
you
is
guys.
maybe a little bit
Yeah.
after the fact.
Right. So this is a decoration, right?
That's why I have on my N95 mask.
Again, children were never at risk from this virus. Yeah, I've noticed you have been recently. Children, again, were never at risk. Okay, you're not protecting the kids. This isn't about the kids. If this board and this supervisory union was putting the kids' best interests forward, we would be letting them get their lives back and be children again, living a carefree life that they deserve to have.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone else have anything to say? Anyone online?
Becky's got her hand up.
What?
Becky has her hand up.
Becky? Yes, Becky?
Oh, I just wanted to know the first name of the man that just spoke. I got his
Ryan?
last name.
Ryan.
RYA.
Brian, okay, because I put Ron, so. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
No.
Man in the audience, yes.
Jason LaRochelle.
Jason, what?
LaRochelle. LARCH. I should get it. I just wanted to kind of. Yeah, probably.
You can.
I just wanted to mirror what Ryan was saying. The fact that both of my kids have not had any fresh air time, even on recess, they're required to wear masks.
That's no longer true. That was something that was being done for a short period of time.
Right, but it happened, right? Okay. So even on recess, they were told not to wear masks even when they were 6 feet apart. So from the time they left my car to the time we picked them up, they had to wear masks, right? Besides when they were.
That was supposed to be for about a week, but
And how long did it last?
it ended up being a little miscommunication going on for longer. I'm not sure how long.
A miscommunication with our children. So that's a big deal for us. To learn that, what we thought were going to be breaks during the day was taken away. And we were not privy to this information. I learned about it from someone else's kid, actually. So yeah, that's one thing that we definitely want to watch for and definitely not happy about. So we need to keep the parents informed of any changes like this. To have this just happen and just be forced to play outside on the playground with their masks on, that's not right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, next we have the lead learners report. They got that fixed for you right now.
Yep, thank you. All right, so the lead learner report for March 8th, 2022. So first off, we're going to start off with the 6th grade bake-off. So our 6th grade students, through their science class, had the opportunity to do a chocolate chip cookie bake-off. And so tying in science with ingredients and mixing. So Mr. Vila came up with this project for his students to do, and they had some amazing recipes. I know one of them was even a vegan recipe because some of the students had some allergies. And then, so they had competitions where they went head to head with the other group. They had judges. I was hoping to judge, but I didn't get a chance to because I had somebody in the game. But the students did a really great job. And then the winners were announced on Monday morning. They had their final one, and it was Raspberry Special, which was by Levi Martin, Lucas Gadet, and Cameron Saunders. So I think they may have a baking future in one of their possibilities.
They combined raspberries with the chocolate?
Yeah, I guess Mr. Vila, I know you're on there. You want to speak up about how, because you didn't let me taste that one.
Yes, Raspberry Special actually had some homemade raspberry jam put on the in the center of it on the outside for part of the standard was they needed to modify an object, and so the class had chocolate chip cookies, and then they modified it. It's an engineering and technology standard, modified it. And this group decided that Cameron's grandmother's raspberry jam would be a good modification. And indeed, he was right. They won the whole thing. Yeah. But we had some wonderful cookies, so it was exciting.
Nice. Thank you, Mr. Vila. I'm going to have you stay on, and you are going to go over the 8th grade business plans because I believe the 8th graders aren't here. I think you were going to go over them for them. So is that correct still?
Sure.
So the first one is reversed apparel. Is everybody seeing that on the screen? Should say loading. There we go.
We got it.
All right, thank you.
And this is
Okay,
part
Mr.
of their economics and technology standards that they're doing with Mr. Santangelo and myself.
It's their logo.
And that's their design.
Okay.
Front and back.
There's their mission statement that they came up with.
I was curious as to when these are gonna be available for sale. Or are they already available for sale?
They are already available. They actually have designed a website where you can actually order them. And I believe that's going to be operational, I think, maybe sometime this week. Did you want me to read it, Mr. Martez?
No, I think everybody can read it, but if you just want to summarize a little bit and explain part of the process, and we'll maybe share one more, or we can share all of them. It's quick.
Sure.
Yep, important, sure. There's only three that, everything, three just wanted to present. I tried to get the kids to come back here, but I think we scared them off last time, so. All right, I'm gonna go to the next slide.
And they're going to take their profits and help a charity. They want to send some to the PTA, and half of their profits would go to the class. So they want to spread the wealth through the community and help others.
Nice. All right. We'll go to this next one. So the next one is Arrow Designs.
I love their logo, by the way.
And you can see their posters throughout the school.
To give you an overview on where we're kind of going with some of this, we always talk about schools should prepare students for real life. And it is crucial to have a basic understanding of all 4 of the core subjects: math, language arts, science, and social studies. However, while it's true that it is important to be well-rounded and have basic knowledge of these core subjects, many middle school and high school students would greatly benefit from participating in other classes that would certainly be useful for them in the future. And one class that I feel should be encouraged, or maybe even required, is for students to take an economics class. And that's what this project is. It's an introduction to economics for the 8th graders. And we're all learning so much by doing this. Economics teaches students how money is circulated in the economy, as well as how to maintain and manage money. In addition, it educates students on the push and pull factors of supply and demand in the market, and necessary information for everyone who are consumers and future producers. And on a similar note, the grade 6 chocolate chip cookie bake-off, likewise, family and consumer sciences, fact classes teach different skills for everyday life. And I think that we should encourage classes like this and make room for them in our already, very busy, cluttered schedule. Students should have the opportunity to learn life lessons that will certainly stay with them for their entire lives and help them be most successful in the adult world. And this was some of the pieces that we tried to address with this, and we're learning about this all the time. And hopefully we're going to be able to repeat these activities with the students next year, and even bigger and better things, I hope.
Well, thank you very much.
That's the plan. Thank you, Mr. Vila.
Yeah,
You're very welcome.
I personally agree more with you. We need more real life experiences for our children, including balancing a textbook if we could.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that these projects that you and Mr. Santangelo have come up with are incredible and make school a lot more exciting and fun for the kids. So thank you very much for your extra effort to get this done.
Thank you.
Does anyone propose for?
All right, just wanted to thank everybody again for thanking our Weathersfield community for passing our FY23 budget. Excited about that. Leader and Me. So we've been again continuing working on Leader and Me. It's been great. This week, Miss Cole has been focused on habit 4, which is think win-win. There's a video in there that I've included. I'll share this with you guys so you can see the video now. But part of the Leader and Me program has a great online resource for students and for teachers to be able to get information and be able to share with their classes. So there's this really great video about think win-win. And then some of the teachers have been using these habits in their classroom instruction on a daily basis, which has been really great. Enrollment attendance for February 8th through today. So we're down to 236 students. We had one student that went to homeschool and then one student that moved out of the area, but we did gain one student. So we're at 92.4 is our average daily attendance. So that's up from last month a little bit, which is good. So starting to get the numbers. Our attendance sheet our absence sheet has shrank significantly, which has been great. COVID update. So students in grades 7th and 8th grade are eating in this very lunchroom right now. So last week we had 8th grade in here and it was great. So we eased 7th grade in this week. The plan is to ease 6th grade in the following week as well. So it's been really nice to be able to see the students eating together and talking together and not having their masks on and being part of, being kids. And some of the kids, it's still put their masks up. And it's like, no, you can keep it down if you want to, but it is that option. And the same thing for outdoors as well. Just reminding students that every morning in announcements, we remind them that if they choose to take their mask off, they may, if they want to keep it on. Some kids find that it's nice to have it on there because it's cold outside. But it's just their own comfort level and what they feel they are, like I said, comfortable with. Also, one of the other things is students are using lockers for winter clothing. They're able to put in their winter clothes, not having to take them back and forth, which makes it a little bit easier, makes it easier in the classroom, makes it easier for them, makes it easier for families. So starting to do that. We still have the test at home to keep children in school. And then if we do have a case, we do have the robocall and emails that go out to family. And then our special recognition to our nurse and our COVID team. They've just been doing an excellent job so far with trying to keep this as painless as possible. Building community. So continuing those muffling conversations with Chief Spalding regarding fire safety. We're having an additional vaccine clinic on March 12th with Rescue Inc. out of Brattleboro and also our Mount Scottney Fire Department. last time we had multiple new vaccines that came up. And so we decided to do a third one because we still want to give that option for people so that they have a place to do it. Communicating with the town manager regarding our town report, lots of meetings back and forth with him to make sure that I understood the process and we were good and all on the same page before that happened last week. We presented our service award at our town meeting on the 26th, and that went to all of the families of Weathersfield, which I thought was a nice way to really show our appreciation over the last 2 years. I know that this year with me being here, it's been great to have all of that family support. And so we wanted to show a small token of our appreciation for them. And then I met with Chief Daniels and Chief Spalding the other day regarding school safety. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure it was okay with them, this is called a lock block. And so what it does is it creates a couple of great features. So one thing is for safety. So it goes inside the door. And so if we had an incident where we needed to go quickly into a lockdown situation, anybody can go through and they just slide this and the door shuts because all the doors are on the self-closing hinges, and it would shut and the door would be locked. Another thing is too, when kids are going back and forth, it's not banging on the door, but I wanted to make sure that this was okay with them, that it wasn't going to cause any issues, because I did have a fire department when I was in California that made us take these off because they said it could be a fire code violation. Chief Spalding and Chief Daniels were happy with this, that they thought this was a great little tool to be able to have to make things safer for our students. So we'll be looking at ordering those. So this is my sample I had. So if you guys will take a look at it. Wish I would have thought of this design because there's a patent on it. It's a great little tool. Exactly. Community outreach, hybrid town meeting. Families were able to attend in person. Vaccinating clinics on January 22nd, February 19th, and March 12th with the Ascutney Volunteer Fire Department and Rescue Inc. And then this Saturday, one of the outcomes of our last Coffee with the Lead Learner on February 9th was that we had some families that had never been on our campus before, because including our own board member now, Nicole. And so we are going to, on Saturday, we've sent out the email if families would like to stop by between 10:30 and 1 o'clock. BJ and I will be here with them, and we're going to give them a quick tour of the school so they can see the inside of it, see what the school's about, answer any questions about the actual facility, because people have been sending their kids here for a couple of years and might not have seen the school yet. Sports update. All right, you ready, Jess?
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay,
Everybody see
great.
that? I'm going to do, hold on. Make it look a little better for you. Loading. All right.
Great. So I just wanted to put a quick recap, some pictures of our teams this year. We had 43 home and away games, which I thought was pretty incredible across the different levels and different teams. 57 total participants. Big thank you to our coaches, families. We were able to allow spectators towards the end, which was really great. And a lot of ups and downs and a lot of last minute changes. I'm thankful for Sports Engine to help with the last minute changes, but couldn't have done it without our families and our coaches. This has been emailed out a couple times by BJ and Brian. It'll be emailed out a few more times in case people missed the registration, but here it is again.
Exact 4 more times.
Four more times to be exact. So hopefully people get it by March 18th, because we'd like to actually close the registration deadline this year so that we're able to have accurate head counts. These are our numbers as of now, which are pretty good, but struggling to have some full teams. We have 49 total registered. T-ball looks great. We'll be there pretty soon with our 3rd and 4th grade boys baseball. 5th and 6th and 7th, 8th baseball is really lagging some numbers, and softball across the board isn't doing that great. Track and field only has 3 registered now. Just some quick kind of viewpoints for you that our youth sports are declining, and that's a product of COVID, and also I think just a product of a kids getting kind of pulled in a lot of different areas across the board. But I wanted to throw this on there because we're excited to announce some new opportunities for our student athletes in the coming spring. We're going to be offering a spring soccer clinic. It's going to be on Sunday afternoons or evenings for 5 to 6 weeks, and it's going to start depending on when the fields don't have snow or ice on them. But a big thank you to Christian Craig, who is working with me to volunteer his time, energy, and his love of the game to get us some spring soccer. I know a lot of other area rec programs do this. We will be asking a small registration fee just so that we get dedicated athletes to this, but varying grade levels and varying abilities, but it's going to be clinic style practices with no games.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. And then we'd like to offer some introductory lacrosse clinics. We have seen over the past few years a decline in softball and baseball and track. And I don't know if that's, I'm not a researcher, but I don't know if that's across the board, if that's just at Wethersfield, but I know talking to other area rec directors, numbers are in our local area towns are down too. We're likely going to have to combine for 7 and 8 softball and baseball. Heartland doesn't even have softball until I think 7th grade. They don't even offer it at all. So our area department, our area rec centers are pretty low too. So I thought it would be nice to maybe offer something new and give the chance to area kids to try something new. And if we get interest, great. And it's just another opportunity for kids to try. Would likely be free. Won't interfere with what we already have scheduled. And all the equipment will be provided.
I have a question.
Nicole, let's ask the question.
Just to clarify, the homeschool children in our district can participate, correct?
I couldn't really hear you. I'm sorry.
Homeschool children in our district can participate, and I nodded my head yes.
Yep.
And just to roll on that a little bit further, homeschool children can participate in any of the extracurricular activities that are
In school children.
If there's any way that somebody could email me some of this region, so that I can get it out for the school community, because they just might not have.
It's good to have a list of school committees. Yeah. We'll add that to your.
Did you have, I know you had a question from earlier, so.
Sure. Again, Bob Laurel. So I just wanted to comment, this kind of dovetails, I think, with the spring sports and maybe even declining numbers, maybe even Panther pride, who knows? So, I started coaching here when my son Will entered kindergarten. He's in 4th grade now. And I showed up, I looked at the baseball field, and I played baseball my whole life into 1 year of college. And I just thought, oh, okay, well, as we start, the field will improve. They'll do some maintenance to it, and we'll have a decent field to play on. Here I am 5 years later, the field's in worse condition than it's ever been. Crabgrass growing everywhere, really no distinct infield to speak of anymore, which is actually a danger to the kids playing the game. You hit a ground ball through the infield, hit some crabgrass, the next thing you know, the kid's got a black eye. So, I'd love to, I'm here representing a group of parents that sort of feel the same way. And there's a group of us that are willing to dedicate our time, equipment, funds, whatever it takes to get the field in good shape. And so I want to put that out as an offer. If there's not already, I had spoken to Jess briefly about it. She said that she was reaching out to like the Windsor Rec Department and things like that. But I just wanted to make sure that I came here and expressed that to the larger board as well. And I think that there were a group of us that took our kids to Windsor to play last year. And, part of it was COVID stuff. The kids are allowed to be outside without masks on, which was nice. But also, the condition of the field. It's not bringing anybody here to play ball, that's for sure. That and one other comment that I was just hoping that if we do have the numbers and people off the baseball team this year, I saw the 3-4 numbers, they didn't look too good, which is shocking considering we had like 27 kids for soccer. But hoping to get in the gym to start the season, because as we all know, Vermont, we could get a big storm at the beginning of April, and the next thing you know, we're not, the field's not ready till May. And then we're playing against teams that do start in the gym, and they're, you can tell they've practiced and practiced and practiced, and we're just out there, maybe one practice, and then you have to play the game. So just any leniency on getting us into the gym to just throw the ball around, get in shape, maybe run a little bit, do those kind of things would be very helpful to that athletic program.
Excellent.
That's it.
Thank you.
Mark would like to ask you a question.
Do you have any experience with, you're talking about the infield? Is there a particular time of year that's best suited for that work? I mean, is there I don't want to say obviously, because I know nothing about it, but I would be surprised if we can really, with the start of this season, is there an optimal time of year to get that work hammered out?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a landscaper.
Okay.
I'm more of a coach.
Right.
But, I would say that we could. I think that if, as soon as the snow melts, you can go out there and dig up what's out there now and put in some new material and have a new field in like a weekend.
Just for reference, it's like it's a sodding process.
I don't mean the sod, the infield, that's a bigger project. I'm more, the grass in the infield is one thing, but the actual dirt infield is more of what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
There really isn't a defined dirt infield anymore. It's like kind of grown in with grass. And so that would just take cutting out the infield, scooping out that material, bring in some new loam, clay, sand mix, spread that out, tamp it down, and you have a much better playing surface.
Right,
I mean, that's bare minimum. I'd love to see the grass improve and everything else too, but really what I'm interested in just seeing the
We
dirt.
can work with the dirt in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I think, again, there are coaches, with excavators and everything else you can imagine waiting to help out. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Bob. I talked to Jim, who helps out with Windsor, who does their facilities, and he has us on their list, but I asked him if he would please let us know if we somehow get bumped from the list, because then we'll bring in the reins. The Windsor facilities crew was able to fix our softball field last year because we were hosting middle school games, but they didn't have time to do our baseball field. And it typically happens once the ground thaws a little bit. It's a little bit harder to do when everything's still super frozen, but willing to take the help if we don't get it from the SU level, which we should be getting.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. That's what I was going to ask too.
Okay.
About softball. That's definitely something.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I have a question.
Yes, Ryan?
Thank you. I would also be very willing to tribute time for this. And I had a question for Jessica, maybe she could verify, or you could go back on the slide about the policy that they have to register here first before they're released to play somewhere else.
Yeah, so I think it's maybe one slide back, Brian. It's where we have our registration. So it's a UVRA rule that athletes must register at their home school first. And that's across the board because all of our small programs are struggling for numbers. So if we have kids or athletes not registering until March 18th and then going to play in Windsor, we're not getting an accurate account for what we have, and we're only hurting ourselves in our own programs. So that's why we're asking this has been a rule since before I started. It's been a UVRA rule for 10 years, so that all athletes at the home school have to register there. And if we don't have the numbers by March 18th, we will email and release and give back money and release those athletes to go play at any other program. But we're asking is that you register here first. We have talked to area rec directors, and they've actually sent me information saying, we got this kid to register. Have you released your team yet? No, we haven't. So please don't accept them. So we're working with area rec directors, area programs to we're all on the same page, and we're all just trying to make the numbers work for our own programs.
Well, I got another something to elaborate on that. So I went through this process for basketball, and I reached out trying to get my daughter released. By the time they responded, which was weeks after they said they would, it was already too late. And there's a reason why a lot of us have our kids playing with other programs. It's because this program is lacking. So really, it's detrimental to our kids' progress to keep them here. Again, this is coming back to looking out for our children's best interest. Because if we're, as the parent, we're the guardians of these children, should have the choice. And I understand we're trying to get numbers up, but there's a reason why numbers are so low. The facility, the practice, the effort they put in. You know, we're all very thankful for the volunteer coaches, and they're all great and work hard. But there's a reason why we're reaching out to other places. And if we're going to go through this process, you need to respond when you say you're going to respond. Because my daughter was not able to join that other program because you literally took 5 or 6 weeks to respond when you said a week.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I think the issue with that was that we started our basketball season late. So we weren't able to say yes or no because we started late because of COVID. So hopefully this timeline is on par with all other area rec directors and rec programs, like Chester's closing theirs March 18th, Springfield's closing theirs March 18th. And we have a deal with other area rec directors to say, hey, if we don't have a program, can you sneak a couple of our kids in? And they say, yeah, that's not a problem.
Going back to the governor's address on Monday or Tuesday, whatever it was last week, that's why everyone needs to be on the same page here, right? So things can be fluid and everyone's getting the same service. So everyone needs to be on the same page, and everyone else has already gotten their phone call. But apparently this school board wants our children to wear a mask one more day than necessary. Not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question? No?
I actually wanted to ask what we've done to drum up, get the kids excited about the spring sports. That was a complaint last spring regards to our numbers. I guess there wasn't, we did it for fall. We, you went out and you did like the handprints on the, we had like a big thing outside and did the handprints on the shed, painted the shed. Has anything been planned like that to drum up participation in spring sports?
Yeah, thanks for that. So we talked about it with all our basketball athletes for, spring season's right around the corner. Please register. We're sending out emails. We're kind of doing all we can. We do have another Panther Pride week or day planned, but it's not until after the season. So right now there's not much we can do other than word of mouth and Facebook posts and emails and families talking to other families about getting your athletes to register.
So there's not like, you can't like get a little assembly in there or something, get jazz.
We can work on trying to get an assembly.
I don't know. I mean, the numbers, especially for track and field, so bad.
I think the point is we wouldn't be here if we didn't want our kids to play for Weathersfield, right? That's the point of this. We really do. I didn't even grow up in this community, but I do appreciate community, and this is the community I live in. This is the community my kids are growing up in. So for me, a part of community pride, for me growing up, for my family, whatever, was athletics. It kind of brought everybody to the school. It, got community members rallied around the same thing. And I think there's a group of us that just would like to see more quote unquote Panther pride when it came to athletics in the town in general.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's ever been, an athletic booster club here or anything like that, but that, maybe this is a time to see if there's support in the community for something like that, to raise money, to put on, sporting events, more clinics. I'd love that we're going to be having a soccer clinic in the spring. I would have loved to have had a baseball clinic, too, in the spring or even over the summertime. All those kind of things, I think, should be on the table. We should be thinking about that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, did you have anything else?
Nothing else on my end. Thanks, Brian.
All right, student productions. So I have Mr. Shambo here and then Mrs. Youngling. They both volunteered to help out. So I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Shambo talk a little bit about the upcoming spring production and what we've got planned.
Good evening, everyone. So with what COVID has done to the music program, I thought it would be best if we kind of ease our way back into performances. And I thought there would be no better way to do it. Actually, this was really Erica's idea, not mine, but to bring back Weathersfield Got Talent, which is a talent show that we used to put on every year before COVID, where the students can just come and present what they have. It could be singing, it could be dancing. There was one year we had a student perform karate skills, but I think it would be a great way to end our school year with something positive in the world of performing. And the plan is to do this sometime in June. That way it doesn't affect anything else. And to have it be as normal as possible. We'll be on the stage doing this performance. And we hope to have a lot of students participate because I know there are a lot of kids that are missing out on that. And then the second part of this slide is some of our Weathersfield students have been invited to participate in the Heartland Musical because our drama club is run by a person who has not been able to be in our school because of our COVID protocols. And this year's musical that Heartland's putting on is called Willy, Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So we had 4 students audition and all 4 got in. We have one student who is an Oompa Loompa. We have another student who is Mrs. Bucket and is a squirrel. We have another student who is Grandpa George and a squirrel. And then we have I guess you would call it a lead role. We have a student who is Veruca Salt and part of the kids' chorus. And they are very, very excited to be part of this again.
Thank you, Mr. Shambo.
You're welcome.
All right, mission, vision, core values. We've been working on that. We've been able to meet with the students finally, and they have a lot of input, which is amazing and appreciated. So I've been able to meet with some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to go over that input with them. And they weren't happy with what we've come up with yet. So they wanted to relook at it again. So I'm okay with that. So we're going to continue on that process and we'll get it eventually. Upcoming events, we have virtual coffee with the lead learner tomorrow at 8:30. Staff Development Day this Friday, no school for students. Friday, March 25th is an early release day, so 2 weeks from this Friday. And then the following Thursday and Friday are both early release day because of parent-teacher spring conferences, and those are virtual. And then spring break is right around the corner from April 11th through April 15th. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for lead learner and Greg?
I do.
Yes.
Why can't we have the parent-teacher conference in person?
Because
Request that?
they've decided to have them as a just virtual still, just because of the timing and changing of everything right now. So
I mean, I guess that's convenient, but I don't think you get the same value. I think in person is a value-added experience.
and I agree with you that it is a value-added experience, but at this point right now, they're still trying to limit the amount of people in the building still. So I'm hoping by next year that we have more in person, we're able to have meetings, or starting to have meetings without students here in person. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. And those areas that we're working on with having kids be able to be unmasked and be together, and hopefully things are on the up and changing. So we're going to keep that right now and then go from there. And that's an SU decision. So that's across all of the 4 schools within the SU.
Maybe that's an item to discuss at the SU meeting.
And that's something definitely bring up for, if you'd like to, for discussion of agendized items on Monday night.
Right, so when would be the appropriate time to bring that up? The public?
Yeah, the public announcement part at that meeting. So, because I believe it's only 2 agendized items on Monday night. One of them is to put the new SU board members in place, and then also the COVID mask protocol on Monday the 14th.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. You have something, Mr. Lowershaw?
I was just gonna mention that we had spectators at basketball games, why can't we have those?
Children.
Children's teachers. It's just, yeah.
I'm not really hearing good, I really.
And you know what? I honestly, I don't have a great answer for you. I think it's because,
We do need to be
Okay.
conscious of what our teachers would like. And I don't know if you realize, but right now, like, it's a really hard employment environment. Plus, we have really great teachers that we love here and we don't want to lose. So we look at teachers.
If they're not comfortable working in a public setting, they shouldn't be working with the public.
We're gonna move on.
thank you. All right, I'm done. So superintendent's report.
David, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm all set. I assume everybody can hear me. I'll share my screen. Hold on just a second. It's pretty brief. Brian covered a lot of the ground, so I'm not going to repeat a lot of what he said. But we will. Can everybody see that, Brian?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So the COVID update, we pretty much talked about everything already. We have noticed the case counts are currently pretty low in our county, towns, and schools. It's been a good couple of weeks. I think last week across the 5 schools, we had 5 positive cases, and there were no staff members. Those were all students. So apart from the state's change in discussion and guidance, case counts are low. As we said, the masking protocols set for discussion and decision at the March 14th SU meeting. We're working hard to collect all the data on parent input, staff input, student input, as was mentioned. We're looking at, we're also going to try to get a sense from some of the districts that went a little early, how that's working out. We do have we'll have the case counts a little more firm. We have the vaccination rates in all of our buildings and across the SU. We'll present all of that on Monday so that the board can make an informed decision, that evening. March 12th, Brian already mentioned this, that vaccination clinic, and I really want to thank the school and the Scottney Fire Department for the work they've done in bringing those vaccinations close to home. And a lot of people have taken advantage of it, and that's a big thank you to that community effort. Other general updates, we're doing with the middle level work continues. That middle level task force, grades 6, 7, and 8 across the SU has been meeting. We came up with some common agreements, some common themes that I'm going to share. I've got them, but I won't share them tonight, but I will share them probably at the March 28th SU meeting. But your middle school, as you can see from the presentations that have gone on the last couple of board meetings, is very vibrant. They try to keep the kids engaged. They try to do real life projects, and that's exactly what we're trying to do across the SU. So, your middle school has actually provided some of that leadership. Jay Villa, in particular, is one of the 3 leaders on that task force. We have a March 11th in-service coming up. That's a wellness in-service for our staff. We try to do one of these a year, but this year it's of particular importance. And there's no school that day, but the staff will be in, and we're serving the entire staff breakfast that morning, but also engaging them in some wellness activities, mental health activities, some collaborative planning pieces that we're going to be working on with them. And it should be a good day for our staff and a well-deserved day. Speaking about staff, we're having free lunch Wednesdays now. That was suggested by, I think, a couple of board members, just trying to find ways that don't cost a lot of money. But for our staff now, any staff member can eat free in our school cafeterias on Wednesday. Budget votes in each district, Ann mentioned this, and so did Brian. They were all successful across all 3 districts. And our voters in this supervisory union, in all 4 of our towns, have always supported education. And I think that's, that's clear tonight with the people that are in that room, and it's clear with the energy and enthusiasm that goes into voting when we have our district meetings. Negotiations, teacher contracts ratified and signed. The support staff negotiations are completed, ratified by the association. Boards are ratifying them now. Matter of fact, it's on your agenda for later on to ratify the support staff agreement. We are, I think it's important to know that we do have an engaged and positive union in our buildings, and we meet with them at least once a month, if not more often, because we want to make sure that there is that we are living by those contracts, and we do have equity in our buildings. The negotiated agreements go through 2024 for the teachers and 2025 for the support staff. So the people who negotiate, which are Bill Yates, I want to thank Bill Yates. He's on the Mount Scottney School Board. Jackie, who's right here tonight, she negotiates as a Wethersfield representative. And Scott Richardson, who retired this year from the board, he's been an excellent board member. He negotiates for Heartland. But I will tell you, none of those 3 were disappointed that they won't have to go back and negotiate again next year. It seemed like we were doing it every year for the last 3 years, and that's always a lot of work. But they did a great job, and we've got some good contracts in place for next year. I think that's it, and I will stop sharing now. If there are any questions, certainly I can answer them.
Questions for Superintendent Baker? Brian?
Thank you. Dr. Baker, I know it's not on the agenda, but is it possible for this board tonight to have a vote? And I'm not asking a lot here. I'm asking you guys to comply with a memorandum handed down by the state and the recommendations and the guidance you have been supposedly following this entire time. A vote by this board who represents our children's interests and the people, and the majority has voted already. A vote for kids come maskless in this school building on the 14th.
The simple answer to that, Ryan, is no, because of what I just said. We have a unified master agreement. We're a union shop. The support staff and the teachers have to have equitable work practices. We can't have one building without masks and other buildings with masks. That would be a violation of equitable work practices, essentially. So we can't. That's why we had to negotiate all of the COVID protocols as an SU, because whatever we do in one building, we have to do in another building. We know that the state has issued the guidance. This board is well aware of that. We tried to have the meeting. Remember, we're a supervisory union, so we have to appoint the members to the SU board. We tried to have the meeting. We actually even suggested Thursday, and it just wasn't possible for board members to collect that quickly. So we're going on Monday, and I'm just hoping that, we've been doing this for 2 years. I'm hoping our parents can be patient for one day, and then attend that meeting, and where we present the data, and we present and certainly there'll be opportunities for public participation, and then, if there's going to be a change to the protocol, it'll happen on that Tuesday, March 15th. But the simple answer to the question, Ryan, because I've had that asked before, is no, because we have shared staff between buildings, and we also have that unified master agreement. So we have to have the same working conditions in all the buildings.
One more last question, please. Is that okay?
Sure.
This is still being documented and recorded, right?
This meeting's recorded, yes.
Dr. Baker, I'm curious, by not following the memorandum, is this supervisory union opening itself up to litigation because they're not following the recommendations?
Go ahead. Did you have more to that question, Ryan?
That's it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, again, the simple answer to that is no, because as you just stated, and I think this is important to understand, the state issues guidance and issues recommendations. Now, our boards have always followed the guidance and the recommendations. We try to do it in a timely fashion. We can't, sometimes those memos and those come out, a little too late, so we have to try to catch up. I wish the state was better at getting stuff out. I wish they had told us 2 or 3 weeks ago that they were thinking about this, but we hear it. Sometimes we hear it at the same time you hear it during the press conference, during the governor's press conference, or during the Secretary of Education's press conference. And we've checked this with our attorneys a couple of times because the question has come up, Brian. The only board that has the duty of care authority by law to set safety protocols in our district for staff and students is the school boards, the supervisory union boards. The state board, the state commissioner, the governor has no authority over the schools at all. And so that's why we've got to get that board together so that they can vote, because they are the ones that have that authority.
Right, but can't you call an emergency meeting like you have in the past?
14th was the absolute soonest that we could get everybody that needed to be there. We moved it up a full week. The meeting was originally scheduled for the 21st. That was as soon as we could do it. That's what day it is.
Yeah, I did. I moved it up. We moved it up a full week, but that was the earliest we could do it, as Anne Marie said. And we'll have a good discussion Monday night. And I know this board has been responsible in the past, and so has the whole SU board, and they've generally followed the guidance. And we'll see what happens Monday night. But I've just asked patience from parents, and I know it's been a long 2 years. Believe me, it has been for everybody, staff, parents, kids, and I think we are very close right now.
One more comment. We're gonna have to stop this.
That's all right. I'll just
There's
email.
gonna be a meeting on the 14th.
I'll email later. Thank you.
Yeah. And by the way, districts are meeting all across the state right now, making these same decisions. I heard that I won't mention the name just because I don't want to be inflammatory, but I heard one of the districts very close to us their board voted that they're going to wait longer than the 14th. So it's not uniform. It's not mandatory. It really is guidance, and each board will read their communities, try to listen to their communities, look at the the vaccination rates certainly, but the positivity rates, and they'll make good decisions. This is not easy. It wasn't easy ramping up for this, and it's not going to be easy ramping down. This has been incredibly time consuming and draining on everybody. I completely understand it, Ryan.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for President Baker?
No one.
Okay. All right, up next we have items for discussion, which we've already done a couple of them. The spring sports has been done. The plans for the spring done, unless you have anything to add.
Yeah. Anne Marie, could I just make one comment about spring sports quickly? And I know we did the spring productions too, Brian, but I don't know who the gentleman was that talked about the condition of those fields. Who did that?
Laura with an L.
Oh,
Okay, great. First of all, I just want to say that everybody's aware of that. I mean, and they've not been in good shape for a long time. And I will, to Jessica's credit, Kishko, that she has been in touch with Jim Taft. Interestingly enough, Jim Taft, who's our maintenance supervisor, for all of our buildings, he has a degree in landscape design and particularly focused around athletic fields. He got that at the University of Vermont. And so what I'm going to say to Jim is that it sounds like, and I don't know, because I know sometimes, and I'm certainly not talking about the people in that room right now, but there are people that have intentions, but everybody's really busy. But I'll let Jim know that there may be some people willing to help, because a lot of times it's manpower and woman power. It's people who he's got the equipment. He knows how to do it. He did it to the softball field last year. It had to be rushed, but then we didn't have time to do it to the baseball field. But I'll be in touch with Brian and Jim, and if we can pick a day once everything thaws and try to get that baseball field into shape that it's really never been in, it would be good to do that. And part of the problem too, and maybe some of you know this, is that the undersoil for those fields was not great. And again, sometimes the landscaping, when you do a renovation and a big building project like you did in Wethersfield, sometimes the landscaping is the last thing you do, and you sometimes go quickly. But Jim knows what's wrong with that field. He knows what needs to be done, and we'll call on the volunteers to make that happen, because I do think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done out there.
Can I just, one more thought? When do you think you'd be able to let us know if we'd be able to get in the gym and start the baseball season there? I just, for my own mind, I want to be able to know to follow up or what.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Jessica.
Follow up with Brian. I mean, given the current conditions, and as long as we can, we can move in the right direction as quickly as we can, I don't see a problem with it. But I'll keep in touch with Brian, and he'll keep in touch with you. And when we do have to get the numbers up, I mean, that's part of it. But does anybody know that's in the room right now whether or not is the lack of access to the gym due to the COVID conditions, or was there never the ability to get into those gyms for baseball? Does anybody remember that or know that?
David, I think it was that we were not able to use the gym because of the softballs and baseballs, but I said to Bob, if we use tennis balls or wiffle balls, if that's what's holding us back, we're happy to use different softer balls. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah, that's good. That's helpful because I don't remember us ever using that gym, and I know that gym, certainly under prior administration, it's not a criticism at all. But I mean, it was well protected because it was such a big part of the renovation. But I know there are ways to safely have start athletics early. Windsor has a great gym, and we always start in the gymnasium, so we can talk about that. I see another hand too, Anne Marie.
Yeah, so I mean, it's for as long as I can remember, there's been kind of a disconnect between spring sports and utilizing our grounds inside. It's been a challenge to let kids in to practice early, even before COVID.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know.
I'd say what's paramount here is starting as early as possible.
Yeah.
Because, what's happened the last couple of years is we've only managed to get in, and this is for soccer and baseball is what I can speak to. We've only managed to get a practice or two in, and then the season starts. And it's games, twice a week or whatever. Right. So chances to practice. And frankly, our kids, it shows on the field. Our kids, if you don't have time to practice and you just throw them out there to play the game, they're not going to see good results out there. So, I mean, I'm ready to go in the parking lot like next weekend, if that's what we can do, So, yeah.
Okay. It's potentially a safety issue too, because you're putting a kid who's not prepared to catch the line drive right in harm.
Absolutely.
You don't want them to be learning in the game.
Are you guys, you're pretty connected with the athletic, parents of the kids that are interested in athletics?
I was the athletic director.
Oh, yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
so you guys, if we get the word out that the things are gonna be changing, that there's gonna be the gym open, do you think we'll be able to get the numbers up,
I
or?
think it's a start, yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I think Jess Brown had a question, but it's down now, I think. But Jess Fishko, it's Meredith Kelly. Wasn't softball and baseball last year? So the numbers would be, because Gwen played with boys and played mostly baseball, and there was no softball except for when she hit.
Yeah, so we did a mixture of that last year to combine so that we were able to have a team. It depends on the numbers and what we have.
Would that be the plan?
It depends on our numbers. I would rather host sports at Weathersfield and combine and do co-ed rather than send away. But last year I gave the option instead of said, you know, we're doing co-ed. If you want to go play softball at another school, you're able to do that.
Any other? Jessica Brown?
So I know we already talked about spring sports, but since we're sort of circling back, so I have to echo what everybody's been saying. As a parent of a 7th grader, we've been in Weathersfield for 8 years, and spring sports has always been an issue. Field quality has always been an issue, and not starting in the school has been an issue as well. But to sort of piggyback off of Meredith's thing, can we maybe bring up the 6th graders to play with the 7-8 team or something like that? I think it's important to play with Weathersfield kids and have a team that's not co-ed, especially in the higher grade levels. I think co-ed in the higher grade levels sort of dampers our ability to really play and be prepared to play when you get older or into high school.
That's a good point, Jessica. This is Dave Baker again. And it's interesting you should say that, because with all the middle school work that's been going on across the SU, and it looks like we're settling on grades 6, 7, 8 as our middle school, there's a way to work with the Vermont Principals Association to get a sanctioned middle school eligibility, which would mean we could have our 6th graders playing with our 7th and 8th graders. But it's in the very early stages. We haven't submitted our proposal to the Vermont Principals Association, but I think it's doable and possible. And we haven't met with the ADs yet around spring sports because people are collecting their numbers. But we'll take a look at that too, because I think that's a good idea.
Right, are there any other comments for spring sports? Okay, so then next up we have items for action, which is the ESP contract ratification.
Right, yeah, the support staff, as I said, did negotiate a contract. Jackie was instrumental in doing that and helping us with that. Jackie, did you want to go over the major changes, or do you want me to just highlight the changes? That there really weren't very many, to be perfectly honest with you, but Jackie, what do you think?
I think you speak our eloquently, and I will help you out if you need it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, there were 3 big items essentially that took us, and quite frankly, the support staff were great. We ended up having, I think, maybe 4 sessions as opposed to 10 or 12 sessions with the teaching staff. So the support staff, we were able to get it done because I think we had similar goals. We were one of the lowest paid support staff in the area. We were having trouble finding support staff because we had surrounding towns, including on the New Hampshire side, but even closer to us, like Hartford and Springfield, that were paying more for support staff. So the boards and the support staff negotiators went in with a common goal to try to boost salaries as best we could for some of our lowest paid workers. And that's exactly what happened. And over the course of the next 3 years, as I said, it goes through 2025. There'll be slightly over 12% increase in salaries. And again, they are hourly employees, so it'll be figured hourly. But I think it's going to make us much more competitive in the area, and it's going to be able to provide us with a longevity of people staying on once they are also hired. So salary was a big one. And we also, because we did this with teachers, we wanted to do this with support staff too. We did offer a 403 employer contribution. It's less than what we do for the teachers, but it's for every dollar up to $400 out of your gross salary that you contribute to your to an annuity. The board will put in 50 cents for every dollar. So they're capped up to 800. Our liability is capped at 400. But again, for some of our young support staff, planning for the future is critical, and the negotiators thought that was important, and we settled on the 50 cents on the dollar match. We also, we did a lot of correcting of typos and spelling errors. That always happens when we go through the contract. And the last piece was, and this was initiated mostly at the state level, but the support staff agreed with it. And we talked about it at length, but because we now have one food service director and all of our food service programming revenues and expenditures come through the supervisory union, we really needed to have food service staff be supervisory union employees. It won't mean that they're going to change places of employment. They'll stay where they are, but the contracts will now match the actual work. And so the funding stream will flow through the SU. It used to be that your free and reduced lunch prices came right to you. It doesn't happen that way anymore. And again, that was a healthy discussion, and everybody in the end signed off on it and agreed. So those are the big changes. The board would need to vote to ratify. Jackie, if you think I left anything out, feel free to mention it. But again, in the past, the boards have trusted their representative to represent them well, and I will tell you, Jackie did. It's a 3-year. So you would, the motion would be to approve the ESP support staff contract negotiated for 2022 through 2025.
Okay, I'll take a motion to ratify the ESP contract for the years 2022 and 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Mark is making that motion. I'll take a second. I'll second that. Dan. Roll call on this one. Jamie?
Yeah, I would do roll call. Thanks.
Jamie's an aye. Okay. Yep. Jackie? Aye. Mark?
Aye.
Ann? Aye. Both?
I still don't know enough about it, so I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Nicole's gonna abstain, so that passes.
Did Jackie vote aye?
Everyone was aye. Nicole
So it's,
abstained.
so it's 4-0 and 1 abstention. And that was a good abstention, Nicole. So yeah, you weren't a part of the whole process. And I will be getting the new board members together. There was one in Heartland and the one in Wethersfield, and we'll go over a lot of this stuff. I'll find a time when we can all meet. Sometimes it's a lot coming at you at once.
Okay, and then we have setting the next agenda. I guess we'll definitely have the lead learners report, superintendent's report.
I think a spring sports update would be good.
Date and spring production update. What is it? The masking. Oh, masking update, okay.
Yeah, the COVID protocols, it'll probably come under my report, but that's a good idea.
We maybe could, you have maybe an update on how like the foreign language program is coming along, Brian?
Okay.
Yeah, and how
Yep.
the foreign language.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, so-
a hiring update would be good.
If we have a hiring update by then, so that would be perfect. Sorry.
And if at all possible, can we get an update on the STEM lab and what else it is we can do?
Yep.
STEAM lab.
That's
Mhm.
Correct.
I don't like it. You're important with the art.
Anne Marie, what date and time did we set? Did we say we're going to stick with the Tuesdays?
Tuesday, but it's gonna be at 6:30. Yeah,
Okay, and it's the second Tuesday of the month?
yeah, so whatever that ends up being.
That would be the 12th. And that's right in the middle of spring break.
Okay, it's in the middle of spring break. We can.
Yeah, we might want to think about that. Brian, I think you're going away, right?
Yes. But don't do it on my part, so I can, I can do it virtual from anywhere.
Nice of you to call him out though, David.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Hey, sorry about that, Brian.
So, we can make it the week before or the week after. David, what's the 5th or the 19th look like for you?
Yeah, I'm good either. I mean, I think we could do the 5th or the 18th or the 19th. It's really whatever the board thinks. I can do either one. I think it would be good to stay away from that vacation week.
Yeah. Does anybody on the board have any preference to the 5th or the 19th?
I'm open for either, but since we're trying to do this spring production, is there anything that we need to move on?
Yeah, maybe the 5th is better. Is the 5th okay with everyone?
Yep.
Jamie? Good. Okay, so let's have, our next meeting will be on the 5th because of spring break
At 6:30, right?
6:30.
It's on the 5th, that's a Tuesday, right? Correct. Yep. Okay. And it'll start at 6:30. I just sent that out now, so everybody should have that invite. And Anne Marie, I assume most of the boards will go back to in person. You're already there tonight in person. I don't think, but are we going to keep a virtual option for people who want to come in virtually? I mean, it seems like that's been pretty popular.
I like it. I think it's easier for the public to attend. They just call on easier. I think we've gotten a lot more notifications since we've gone hybrid. Or always about the hybrid option.
So we'll make it hybrid. Yep, good.
Okay, so I think we're good with that for the next meeting. Does anyone have any need for an executive session?
I'd like to move.
Yeah, we could use one, I think.
Okay, we would like an executive session, so, Mark, executive session, for a second. Okay. A second. Aye.
Yes, I'll say. I need to stretch for a second.
All right, well, thank you everyone for attending.